So, hi guys, welcome back to the Scottish Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. I'm Martin Hamilton and I'm joined today by Craig Mop Mcintosh. How you doing, Craig?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I am good, I'm good. We were just talking there about your background. You're up at the swimming pool.
Aye, man. I'm at Earth Castle. It's a nice wee sauna steam room place. You can go for a swim in that as well. So been gone here for recovery quite a bit. I take the bairns here and that as well. It's class, man. Really good place.
Yeah, because Craig, you're scheduled to fight on Bellator 291 at the end of this month against Kenny Mokanana. How are you feeling about that fight?
I feel amazing, man. I've been. It's only a week and a half away really now. So I've been preparing day and night for it. So it's the best I've ever prepared for a fight in my life. So I can't wait. I'm just been thinking about the energy. Got out there fighting in front of hopefully 8,000 folks. You know what I mean? The energy is going to be crazy, and just a chance to put all my skills on show. Do you know what I mean? I've been doing this sport for a long, long time, obsessively, and I want to go out and show what I've got.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's like a great stage as well. Like the free arena it's phenomenal, and the way the Irish fans get like hyped up for it, like every fight, it's going to be a special occasion.
Aye, absolutely, man. And I mean, the Scottish are like that as well. They just didn't come here, but hopefully that will change one day.
Is there any talk of that actually that happening? Them coming over?
Nothing that I know of, but it would be good if they did. You know what I mean? Like I don't see why we've got the hydro there or the oval, I think it is now, and you know what I mean we've got the arenas for it, and we've got the fans for it, and we've got the fighters for it. So I don't know why many of the promotions aren't up here.
I totally agree. Like even Cage Warriors doesn't come up, and that's quite strange because I know Cage Warriors has been up before. Like I think they done it in was it Kelvin Hall?
Aye, that's right, man. That was a long time ago. Aye,
I just remember that because I was watching one of the videos, one of the fights on it not too long ago. I was watching a guy Scott Flynn, Kimbo. I was watching one of his fights on the UFC
oh,
fight.
I know, but man, aye.
So I that,
He's proper old school.
I know Kimbo through the D unit because he's one of the resident black belts at the gym that I
Going
train
to
at.
say that. I heard he was a really good grappler.
He's phenomenal. He's recently just got his black belt and stuff as well, so he's like progressed to the highest level you can in jits.
Yeah, brilliant.
Because that's the thing as well. Like, how did the Bellator fight actually come about? Because it just seemed to come out of nowhere.
So I've had two fights in the last sort of 2 years, but they've both been short notice fights. I've kind of just seen an opportunity and thought I'll go for that, and it's always been like 2 or 3 weeks notice. Um, and then I had signed with Chris Clark a wee while ago, and he knew I was looking to fight, and obviously he does a bit of the matchmaking or for Bellator, or he gets opportunities for Bellator often. So they come to him, and if he's got anybody, then they'll match like SPG guys usually with his dudes. So I got the opportunity. He phoned me. I think it was just before. It was before Christmas. He phoned me. So like I've been training all the way through Christmas. Everything like it's been class. It was like 14, 15 weeks notice, which is a dream come true for me because I wanted a chance to actually like something that's worthwhile to go fight for, and to actually be able to prepare for like properly for it. It's been a great opportunity. So I've just really been focusing on that ever since. Aye, and he didn't even tell me the opponent at first. He was just like, "Look, there's an opportunity." I was like, "Fuck it, give me it, man. I'll take that 100%." Like that's a dream come true for me to fight. Like I say, I've said it before, but it genuinely is, and I cannot wait to go out and just put it all out there. I'm going to make it an exciting fight, that's for sure.
Yeah, because that's the thing as well. Like you're one of the like kind of the older generation of fighters as well. So you've been round about the sport for a very long time, and it's great to see.
13 years ago was my first amateur fight. 13 years ago, man.
It's great to see that the hard work and the dedication that you have put in is you're getting that kind of reward now with this fight over in Bellator.
Aye, that's it. Like, and there's there's a few ways of looking at it, but I just really really grateful for the opportunity. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really, it's amazing. It's what you dream about. You know, I've fought for free, so getting a chance to actually get a decent payday and go out and fight properly in front of a big crowd and a well-run show, and you know, like that's all you can ever ask for, and out of this sport. And it's obviously came as I'm 35, but like I've never ever took a break for the sport. I've never ever. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol at all. I've never stopped training, so it's like I feel like even though I'm 35, I feel like I'm genuinely in my prime. I feel like I'm physically and especially mentally in the best place I've ever been in my life for fighting.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's great. That's great to hear, and it's good to see that the opportunities are starting to come round more, especially for Scottish fighters, because it seemed for a while that Scottish fighters weren't getting the opportunities that they fully deserved. But it seems like the more fighters that we're getting in Bellator and stuff like that's starting to change a wee bit, and we're seeing that with like your teammates on the same card as you that night as well. Pierre
Yeah,
Harvey, he's fighting. Is it Kieran Clark? Yeah.
Clark, he's got a good fight as well.
So how has it been to be going through it with what also having a training partner going through the same motions with you?
Um, it's been absolutely brilliant to be honest. Like just see being back in the gym and higher level, it's been some energy. Like because I started training there 10 years ago. You know, I've started making that trip through, and obviously some of the guys that are doing amazing now, we brought them through initially, like Kunle Lawal, and you know, like seeing all these guys, like. And I'm fucking losing rounds to these guys. Do you know what I mean? It's great to see guys that like you've came up with and how good everybody is now. Do you know what I mean? It's just the energy's been brilliant, man, and the training's been really like regimented and being able to work on areas of the game that like that you know I've been neglecting for a wee bit. So it's been brilliant getting in all the bad situations, you know, all the really specific stuff to MMA, you know, because obviously I've been out and I've been competing in jiu-jitsu now for like 5-6 years at a pretty decent level. So it's been a buzz to get back to MMA. Like MMA is what I love. It's like it's fun for me. I absolutely love the sport.
And that's the thing as well. Like you were kind of touching on some of the guys that are coming through that gym now, but you've got like the likes of Stevie Ray, you've got Kier, you've got Mark Ewan, you've got Paul Craig's now there as well. So it is. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's the whole iron sharpens iron, and just being there and working with these guys and training regular with these guys. That are you
Even
feeling?
picking their brain as well, massive. Like, and I was one of my first sessions on the pads with Stevie Ray. Like, just some of the stuff that he picked out, like with my game, and it helped a lot. Like, he was just able to kind of tell me a bunch of things that I needed to work on pretty quickly, and I've obviously been able to kind of iron those out throughout the camp. So like just it's crazy how much you can learn just for some of these guys, just with all the experience as well. You know, just picking somebody's brains like almost as benefit as sometimes even more beneficial than the actual training and you know, sparring with them.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like especially with Stevie, like Stevie's recently, like kind of, he's came into coaching, very similar to yourself. Like for anyone that doesn't know, you've got your own gym out in Alwa. Is it you, Gary, and Callum that run that gym
Aye,
together?
yeah.
How have you felt that becoming a coach has developed you as a martial artist? Are you starting to recognise kind of patterns that you weren't seeing before because you're looking at it from a different perspective at times?
Oh, definitely. See things totally different as a coach, just because it's completely different. It's like it's the same kind of way that when you have kids, you start like apologising to your parents for being a wee fucker. Do you know what I mean? Because like you didn't realise how hard it is, and then it's the same thing with coaching. It's like you didn't realise what a hard job your coach had or has in general, just with like how difficult it is to train athletes and to try and bring the best out of people, and especially like jiu-jitsu is not so much because it's no life or death. You know what I mean? But with MMA, it's a wee bit more brutal, the consequences. So it's like it's more pressure. So MMA can be, you know, a tough thing to coach. And obviously, if you're the sort of person which I'm pretty sure every coach in the country like really cares about their students. You know what I mean? So when you're that sort of person, it affects you. Do you know what I mean? It definitely affects you. You know, their training. You know, and their results and everything that happens with your students because you just want to see the best for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's a great point as well that you're making. But it must be quite beneficial as well for yourself that you kind of got to learn off one of the best minds and like the whole of the UK, if not Europe, and James Dillon, and just kind of trying to implement some of the things that he taught you, as well as putting your own spin on coaching into your guys.
One of the biggest things I think you notice with James is like he's always evolving. He's always evolving with his coaching styles, with the group formats, with the way that everything's happening. Like it's constant evolution, and that's where I think a lot of other coaches and fighters will fall behind is just because you have to keep evolving. You know what I mean? You cannot think what you've got is good enough. Like and that doesn't necessarily mean like you're always adding new tricks or anything like that. Sometimes that can just be going back to the fundamentals, and it's like it changes all the time. But it's been brilliant to learn from over the years.
Because like just to come back to your fight as well, like you like up against Kenny, like Kenny seems to be a very well-rounded grappler. Is that a matchup that you're kind of looking your lips at because you yourself are a very accomplished grappler? Is that where you see this fight taking place on the ground?
I like the fact that like he's a finisher. I like the fact that he's confident in his grappling as well. Like that's good for me. Like I'm because some people just I don't think they would want to grapple with me at all. Do you know what I mean? But I'm quite sure that like he'll be confident enough engaging in all ranges, which is what I am. So it's going to be a fight like everywhere we go. And that's going to be the good part. Like, and it's 15 minutes. Like I done a fight about 2 years ago, and it was a 5 rounder. I done it in 2 weeks' notice, and I managed to keep an okay pace for the full time. So it's like I've worked out some stuff that I can't wait. I've got 15 minutes to have fun in this cage, so just going to use all the tools that I've learned over the years, and just getting about it, man. Like people pay good money to come watch this stuff, so it's like I want to make sure it's a real fight.
And that's the thing as well. What you're on, it's on the main card as well, isn't it?
No, I'm not on the main card, but as far as I'm aware, I'm on the prelims. As far as
Aye.
I, somebody had said to me before that I was meant to be the last fight on the prelims we won, which that'd be quite cool.
Yeah, but that's amazing, and that kind of shows the confidence that Bellator are having this fight because like the featured prelim, that is always like main card worthy fight.
No, they've been brilliant actually. To be honest, like they got in touch with my local paper and stuff like that as well, and organised for them to do a wee interview and stuff like that. So I thought I was quite happy with the way that they've dealt with it because they seem to actually be pushing me as well as Kenny, which is quite cool. I thought they were maybe just going to be pushing him, but I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like I'm looking forward to going out and showing what I can do.
Is that like you do hear that about Bellator quite regular? That the way they treat their fighters is it's really good, and like everyone seems to love working for Bellator. Like, I don't think I've ever spoke to someone who's got a bad word to say about them, and it's quite refreshing to see like an American-based organisation putting so much like faith, not faith, but kind of push in the European market because like what Bellator are doing in Europe, it's phenomenal, and it's only just going to elevate the game to a new level over here.
I would say I would agree with you, man. It's having them about like the more shows, the better, especially like over here because it gives more opportunities. Like that's the only thing that's been a wee bit like in the back of my head. I'm like, fucking, it's been amazing getting this opportunity, but like I've had so many amazing teammates over the years where like I just think like they should have got opportunities like this. Again, like guys like Graham Turner and that should be getting these opportunities as well. Like guys are an amazing fighter. Can probably, I think if he's not still the most experienced he was for a long time. In Scotland as a professional, guys like Martin Delaney and stuff like that. Like being able to fight on shows like this is is really the difference between being able to do it as a full time job or not. You know what I mean? Like any other show outside of the big promotions, really, you're not going to be able to do it as a full time job because you're just not getting paid anywhere near the right the right amount of money that's going to help you live a life. Do you know what I mean? My whole career I've always worked a full time job. This is the first time in my life I've ever just been training for a fight. So it's like a lot of guys that maybe wouldn't have went missing for the sport if there was opportunities like this more readily available for fighters in Scotland and the UK in general. You know.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point that you're making, and that is something that you can only hope is going to continue to improve because the talent in Scotland at the moment is getting insane, and you'll know this better than anyone. But even the guys that are training at kind of, I'll put air quotes around amateur level, like they're training like professionals. They're
Some of them are
eating
phenomenal. Like some of the guys that are coming through are absolutely phenomenal. Like amateur fighters, again, guys that it's the level. The level's getting really, really, really good. And that's like, yeah, I love that about the sport. Like how it's still evolving. Everybody's getting so much better. Like the stuff that maybe took us years to learn is taking only guys a short amount of time to learn as well. But I would just like I say, the more opportunities, the better for people.
No, absolutely. And you're starting to kind of like just to kind of piggyback onto what you're saying, like you're starting to see it kind of influencing like culture a wee bit as well. Like the amount of young guys who might have been down different paths, out doing different things, are now in MMA gyms, eating clean, working hard, and most importantly, keeping themselves out of trouble.
Aye, and that's the thing. Like, see, MMA, people didn't realize like what the knock on effect it is. Like, it does it. And when I got into the sport, I just wanted to have a fight in a cage. Do you know what I mean? I was like, this looks fun. I'm looking forward to fighting with as minimal rules as possible. That's what I was looking for. And it's kind of the same thing. You know, I started it to learn martial arts, but when you actually get into fighting in the sport, you're like, this is great. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's as close as you can get to having a fight with next to no rules. But through that, like I learned so many other things in life. Like just learned about nutrition, learned about strength and conditioning, learned about flexibility, like all these other things that you're forced to learn because you want to be the best you can be. But none of that would have happened to MMA. I wouldn't have been interested in any of it. You know, like even just how to look after your body and look after your mind. And it's a big thing. I mean, like I'm not even when you talk about like mental health and stuff like that, it can help people so much. And I really think like the sooner we move towards like regulation and having a proper federation in Scotland, like as soon as that happens, I know that there's some stuff in the works, but it really needs to get moving on because like that's what's going to open the doors for government funding and stuff like that, and getting behind it as a sport. And also, it's going to weed out all these shows that aren't getting run properly. So you're going to have shows that are nothing but safe. Do you know what I mean? It's good for everything. And like I say, I don't know what the hiccup is with that moving forward, but um, Scottish athletes are losing out because like I think is it the Euros that's on the now?
Yeah,
Right. I'm a Euros that are on right now. So like we should have a team at that. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know why that's not happened, but there's like it's great opportunities and great recognition, and a lot of funding comes off the back of that as well, which in turn is going to help these athletes. And you know, you see it yourself. Any of these people that can get far in the worlds or get far in the Euros, they end up doing really well when they turn pro, and the bigger promotions are more attracted to them. They've already built up their following, their social media, all of that stuff that helps. You know what I mean? And there's more people getting involved and supporting. So like I say, it will go there. Like I'm going to put effort into it anyway for sure. I'm going to be trying to help push that because I love this sport and I want to see it. I want to see it flourish.
and that's it as well. Like having something like a team that's going to the World Championships, like it gives the sport that element of more legitimacy as well. Because even just like you were saying there, like earlier on, sorry, when your local newspaper get in contact with you like that, even like little things like that, that's a big jump to where we were like 10 years ago.
Uh,
Because
see for the last 10 years, pretty much when any of our guys have won, any of the guys from my area has won, I've just wrote an article and sent it to the paper and been like, listen, this is what happened, this is the event, this is the details, and then that way they get in the paper anyway. So like people need to be proactive as well. You can't just expect everything to be done for you. You need to be proactive in your approach with that. Like these papers want to be writing articles, it's just that they don't know about it. So most of the time it's just about actually getting in touch with them and taking the initiative to say, right, okay, listen, here's a write up. Maybe my grammar's not the best. Maybe this isn't the best. Change it whatever you want. But this is a pretty much an overview of what's happened in the fight, and then that way you're getting the guys in the paper. Do you know what I mean? Getting them the recognition. So I've always just done that for all the guys for your area over the years.
one of the questions that I kind of wanted to ask you, Craig, what it was just when you were talking there was about like the IMAF, because for those that don't know, like you went through the process with Jimmy McCallum, like you had to go through it was the English circuit, wasn't it? And you're
Right, because there's no Scottish team, we had to go through the English team. Jimmy went down to the trials and done really well there. There was a wee bit messing about with weight classes and stuff like that. He ended up getting bumped up a couple of weight classes for what he normally fought at, so he had to fight quite heavy. But he ended up fighting against the eventual winner of the world, which is fucking pretty cool opportunity, even just at that, you know. And like looking back, I think he could have done, you know, really really well. It wasn't his best performance, and he could have, you know, I think if he was at his best, he could have done a lot better. Do you know what I mean? But the experience was really cool, and going out there and getting to see how it works and see how all of that operates. Like Scottish athletes definitely need that opportunity, because like we've got amateurs that can win the worlds 100%. Like if you put Sean Clancy into that, he's going to win the worlds, like definitely. So there's no, you put him into that, there's no debating him in that way.
because we've seen that as well with how well the Scottish team done down at the Four Nations tournament. Like there was a few gold medals and silver medals. Like
Yeah.
the guys done absolutely amazing, and I think that's something that we need more, because it was. I was talking to James Dillon on the podcast about this the other day, and like he said something that was really interesting, and it's like guys like Sean Clancy and guys like Kunle Royal, like they're struggling to get matches because people aren't taking the fights with these guys. Sorry, so having something like the worlds where you're having like three or four if
Ah,
you advance.
yeah. And like that's what you're after. Like when you're a young, hungry fighter, like you're just looking for that experience. Do you know what I mean? You're just looking to get fights. You're not really bothered who you fight at, especially at amateur. Like I've done a couple of the 4-man tournaments as an amateur. I done my first one 2011, my second one 2013, and that was the same thing. I was like, at the time, I was struggling to get fights, and I just thought to myself, well, at least if I do a 4-man tournament, I'm going to at least get one fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, everybody can pull it, because the amount of pull-outs you get in MMA is unbelievable. And so I used to think to myself, like, do one of these 4-man tournaments, it's only going to be good guys that'll enter it, because nobody would enter a 4-man unless you backed yourself in a fight. Do you know what I mean? And and I won both of them, you know, and I got 4 fights, 2 fights in one night each time, so it was brilliant. One was meant to be, but actually one was meant to be an 8-man, so it was like meant to be 3 fights in one night. But the same thing happened, like four out of the 8 people pulled out. Do you know what I mean? That's what you're dealing with.
Wow, I completely agree with what you were saying with the pullouts in MMA. Like it's like a kind of double-edged sword, because like MMA, like you'll know this better than most, that it is quite a grueling sport, and like just going through training camps or even just going through training, like these like things can happen, like injuries can happen, but sometimes and you see it with certain fighters that it does seem kind of tactical at times
Mhm.
that
I I think look at professional, fair enough. It's a bit different. Like your like wins and losses make a big difference at professional. Like to how much you get paid, what shows you get, and all of that kind of stuff. So I get it why people pull out more at professional if they're no 100% or they've had bad injuries and stuff like that, and maybe the circumstances aren't that great. But at amateur, it's like you're going to be injured because you're training all the time. Like there's difference between like niggles and serious injuries. So I think at amateur, it's like just fight as much as you can, and you know, like of course you're probably going to be injured. Most people are. Like we had a title fight there drop out for one of our guys, and do you know what? Like it's not right. Again, the boy pulled out, and apparently he was citing fucking mental health and stuff like that. And you didn't want to see anybody suffering, but at the same time, like it was his hometown show, and again, everybody's got problems of their own. It's like fair enough if you do that, but why wait till like a couple of weeks out to do it? Do you know what I mean? And it's brave of the boy coming out with that in general, but it's like it's no ideal for the guy that's been preparing for him, you know. And especially if when the guy that's preparing has got a family, he's taking time away from his kids, all of that kind of stuff as well. It's like you'd fucking go out and at least give the guy a fight, eh?
and that's the thing as well. Like that show was down in England, wasn't it? So like, are we all right to say the name of the fighter? That
Aye, aye.
so like Sean, he's obviously sold tickets. Like his family, friends have bought tickets, probably bought. transport down to England,
Sean
hotel.
was buzzing. Sean was buzzing for the fight because he's watched the boy, and the boy fights. Hey, the boy is a good fighter. He's like he meets in the middle. He wants to scrap, and he doesn't take backward steps. So like Sean was like, oh, that's what I do. So he's like, let's tear it up. You know what I mean?
Because that's happened to Sean quite a few times over the last year, hasn't it? Like you said, late pullouts.
I just it's not been great for him. And do you know what? It's just you've just got to stay professional because we've all had that, and everybody gets it. Like again, we've all had that over the years. I had it with my pro debut twice. Like it got cancelled. It happens to everybody, and it's just the sport. The sports. It's a tough game, man, and it's like fucking the usual saying. Everybody wants to be a fighter till it's time to fight.
But like, we'll take a wee kind of a wee detour because one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because to my understanding, I think you're the only Scottish person that's been published on BJJ Fanatics. Is that correct?
I think I was the first in the UK.
How did that come about?
I just put the material together again, being proactive about actually putting tutorials together. Like I've hit that submission, God knows how many times now. To be honest, in jiu-jitsu competition, like a lot of times anyway. But the whole point was like the way I looked at it was I looked on BJJ Fanatics. Nobody had actually covered the topic at all and broke it down technically. People were looking at it like it was just a bit of a random submission. Do you know what I mean? And even when I got taught it, like it was only taught as just a like grab them, do this, do that. Do you know what I mean? And the base of the move is a movement called the Japanese necktie. But the system around it is what allows you to access it a lot easier, you know. And you're trying to set up some certain things. You're trying to read base, and it really helped me actually putting it together because one, it's fucking horrible trying to like speak on camera like that. You actually get, and honestly, Gary will tell you how many times you're like, fucking just, I don't know. It's quite hard. Like that was my job before, was like presenting to people and stuff, and it was a lot easier doing it in one take rather than trying to on video. You're just constantly like, what the fuck? You get annoyed with yourself with everything, eh? And then trying to actually how to put it across as well and what the best way to teach it is. But I've done that many seminars on it now that I've really got down the best way for people to learn it, because you can throw loads of technical details at people, but actually what you're sometimes better for helping people drill it is actually giving them like small drills to learn to learn the individual steps it and stuff like that. But so that was a cool opportunity, and for what I understand, there might be some coming in the future for maybe a Scottish Twister one coming in the future. So for Stevie Ray, so hopefully that'll be getting done soon.
Because for anyone that wants to go and not publish, buy that, you just go into BJJ Fanatics and just type in Craig Mcintosh, don't you?
That's it. You can learn it, and I'm thinking about putting maybe some more videos out on it, like just on YouTube for free, just to kind of help it. Because I've actually, since I put that together, I've learned more about the move. And like for doing seminars on loads of different places, especially when you get like, see you do a seminar and you get like a couple of like some brown belts, some purple belts and that in the gym, or some black belts in the gym, and they'll ask you questions, and you're like, oh, actually, I've never, this is what I do, but I didn't teach that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they'll ask the question like, what do you do when people do this, or what do you do when people do this? And you're like, oh, that's a great question. Actually, I know what I do, but I didn't really teach that. It's a good thing to teach. So the more that you kind of go around teaching, the better the more questions you get, and the more kind of deeply you understand the movement. And it's the same with everything, you know. It's the same with every single submission possible. You know, it's like you can get as deeper understanding it as anything. You know, like I'm like that with every submission. It's just that with the necktie in particular, people just don't defend it right. So like most of the time, like 99% of the time, people don't do in these turtle positions. Their defense isn't good, so they're just walking right into it all the time. It's just always there. Do you know what I mean? It's not even really my favourite submission or anything like that. It's just as people always walk into it. I like a lot of other stuff, to be honest. I like everything. Every submission you can think of, I like, and every technique in jiu-jitsu. I like all martial arts, everything that's like effective, you know.
Because one of the like we got a kind of fan question coming in, and that was a lot of them were around like the necktie. And one of the ones that was asked was, "What is it, like the creative ways to hit the necktie?"
Um, Everything comes for trying to funnel the front headlock. So the like you can be as creative as you want with that. There's like a really basic one is like passing without the underhook. You know what I mean? Like speed passing without the underhook. So you could knee slice without the underhook, which forces the guys likely to wrestle up on that underhook. And then, but if you're doing it fast enough, you've already adjusted your position to get to a front headlock. And once you're in the front headlock, you're kind of starting to, you know, you can start the sequences for there. But there's loads of different places you can start a sequence for as well. Um, but once they get into that sequence, like it's really hard for them to not get caught if they like regardless, you know. There's like because there's a bunch of you've got the necktie, but I wouldn't even go for that if there's other options. You know what I mean? That's like you're trying to read what the person's base is and try to read a bunch of different things at that point. So and that's what you're trying to do with everything in jiu-jitsu. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to read that person's movement and measure it and anticipate, and sometimes you're trying to provoke a reaction. That was, I think it was Roberto Tala told me that one. You must provoke the reaction. It's it's like you get so many of these tips that are brilliant, but they're just like they work in everything in jiu-jitsu. I absolutely love the sport of grappling in general. It's brilliant. And since I've been teaching it, like the best thing for me with the necktie is when you go to the local tournaments and that now, you're seeing folk get necktied left, right, and centre, and it's like, and it's proper step for step. Like they're literally going through it, just bum 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 bum, like pretty rapid.
That's like the really good thing about like the kind of advancement in things like jiu-jitsu. Like you can get a guy, say for example, who lives in like we'll use you lives in Iowa. Like you can go on and buy, let's say for example, we'll use Gordon Ryan for example. Like the information that you're able to go out there and get, like you're able to kind of like go and buy a tutorial on Gordon Ryan doing leg locks, which it used to be you only got that information through seminars and stuff like that as well. So that must be like so good for these athletes coming up. Like the amount of information out there at the tip of your
Mm-hmm.
fingers is phenomenal.
I sometimes wonder, where I've not got my mind made up on it yet because like when I teach, and if I'm teaching guys that have come in their first few years, I'm not going to be teaching them the fancy shit. Like I wouldn't teach them it because I just think to myself, what you're needing is strong fundamentals, and it's hard to go back and get them. Like once you start to develop your game, it's like if you've got this wild kind of game and you've just veered off on whatever you were interested in. I think it can be hard. Like I see that with most of the newer jiu-jitsu guys these days. Like I'm seeing a lot of guys and it's like they've got decent leg locking, but they're absolutely dog shit everywhere else. Like you're seeing guys that are again they've got all the fancy stuff, but then they didn't know how to get somebody off mount. They didn't know how to get somebody off side control. Like they're just like completely trapped once they get there. And that stuff should come first because you're not wanting to be putting up like if you can get held down for somebody and put in a position where you're just going to get your face smashed in if it was real life, like you always need to go back to the essence of what the martial art was designed for, I think. Like fair enough, it's like leg locks and that great. I love all that stuff as well. But I just think you need all the rest of your game as well. Like you need to have like a complete game and fundamentals are everything. And you're starting to see now like wrestling becomes really, really important now as well, you know. And you know, like I'm not even the again I'm by far by no means a complete grappler. Like I'm always trying to work on myself and try to learn new stuff and trying to round out my game and stuff like that. But it's like you've got to be going in the right direction. You know, I think that's where like a coach is really, really important still because you've got BJJ fanatics, but if you were just like learning yourself without the guidance of a coach, I don't think you would. I don't think you would develop a very good game. I think you need a coach to be like, right, slow your rolls. This is what you need to work on specifically, and you know because a lot of the time as well, like you'll see guys try and do techniques and then or they're maybe hitting it on white belts or whatever, but then it's like this is what's going to make this work on somebody that actually knows what they're doing or actually is resisting or basing in the right way or whatever else. So I think BJJ fanatics is a great aid, but it wouldn't be like the be all and end all. Everybody's always going to need a club and they're always going to need a coach. that's going to be able to actually direct them and give them guidance.
No, I completely agree. I don't think anything will ever replace actual coaching, like live coaching, because you can look like you're hitting something perfect all the time, but if you've not got someone kind of breaking down maybe why you're doing it the way you're doing it, or breaking it down for your body type, because that's quite an interesting thing as well.
Body type's massive. You're spot on about that.
Like something that will work for a guy that's 6'2" won't work, might not work for someone who's smaller and stockier. So that's where, like as you were saying, like that's where coaching becomes so valuable, because you need a kind of tailor-based plan for you. Like I completely agree with the fundamentals as well. Like fundamentals will win you fights, and you see that at the highest level. Like guys in the UFC, like you'll never see a guy in the UFC, well, you rarely see a guy in the UFC that doesn't have a great base of fundamentals, and
Yeah.
like the flashy stuff is good, and it does work, but I don't think it will replace like kind of a strong base.
Aye, no, I definitely agree. You're seeing it kind of start to play out more and more with people, but aye, for sure.
So just coming back to the Bellator card, because like Bellator 291, the card is fantastic. It's got Amosov against Logan Stowley. It's obviously got yourself and Kenny. It's got Kieran and Kea. How are you feeling about that fight as a whole? No, that card as a whole. Sorry, are you quite excited to see how it plays out?
Aye, I'm just really, I'm not thinking about anything other than the fight. So I'm just like, I'm no plan for anything at all after it. I'm just thinking to myself, I just want to go in, beat the boy, and that's
Yeah.
it. Like that's all I'm thinking to myself. And then after that, I'm going to be able to enjoy myself a wee bit. I've got quite a lot of friends coming over for it as well. So my family's coming in that as well. I just like I say, I just want to go in, put on a good performance, beat the guy, and then be able to celebrate after it. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't drink or anything like that, but I absolutely love Dublin as a place. I love the live music and the atmosphere and the energy in that as well. So I'll go out and celebrate after it, and I'll probably no get my flight home if I get the win. I'll probably no get my flight home and maybe spend a wee bit of time there as well, because I've got a lot of pals in Dublin. And just outside of there as well, like Big Marius, he's one of my good mates for ADCC. Um, he lives out there, so hopefully he'll be back for his camp. So, and then I've went to a few nice places in Ireland before, and I just thought if I get the win, I wouldn't mind just doing a wee bit travelling about for a couple of days, and I just have a bit of laugh and hear some music and stuff.
No, absolutely, and it'll be completely well deserved, because like you were saying at the start of the interview, like you've kind of gave up, like no gave up, because in a sense, like you gave up Christmas and stuff like that as well, like because
Yeah.
you're in fight camp over Christmas, you'd made that kind of switch, so you must be kind of looking forward to that release after the fight as well, like when you get your
Aye,
hand raised, just to
that's it. It's just to have something, Ken, just to have your be kind of free to do what you want, because been kind of not counting calories or that, but I've been pretty strict with my diet, strict with my training for a long time now. Which is it's actually been brilliant to be doing that. It feels great. Like you just think to yourself, I didn't want this to end. Do you know what I mean? But then at some point it's got to. Do you know what I mean? So, aye, that's been deadly, and it'll be nice just to kind of chill out for a wee bit.
Because that's the thing as well. Like, a lot of people, like very little amount of people, will actually get to experience a fight camp. So people might be quite interested to hear what kind of toll does a fight camp take on an individual mentally? Because you're spending most of your time thinking about this fight, thinking about this person. Like you're so laser focused in on this one moment. Like, what kind of toll does that take on someone?
It's totally different for can competing in jiu-jitsu. Because jiu-jitsu, it's like you could lose and then nobody cares, and you can go and win the next week. Do you know what I mean? And you can compete so regularly that it doesn't really affect you. And like I didn't really even get nerves at all with jiu-jitsu. I just kind of jump on the mat and I'm like, all right, this is like we're rolling about as a laugh. Do you know what I mean? It's no, I didn't ever get too stressed about it. But fighting, it's like you're putting your health at risk. It's like it's very much. It's a lot more like everything's, you know what I mean, everything's been put into it. You invest so much into preparing for it as well. Whereas like with jiu-jitsu, I could just be rolling in the gym and then I'll jump into ADCC trials. Like it doesn't make a difference to me because I know the levels there. But with MMA, you put so much into it that you're like, right, I need to make this pay off. Do you know what I mean? And it takes a toll on everything else in life because you go for, like, especially for me, it's been a big change because I'm a coach. So I've went for, you know, like caring about everybody else and being a really giving person to being completely selfish, you know. So for the last like 3 months, pretty much, I've just been extremely selfish and with everything, you know, and that's, I didn't actually like being like that anymore, but it's required for MMA.
Do you have any kind of tips or like suggestions on for young fighters coming through that might be listening on how to deal with that, how to deal with the nerves round about fight camp, and just how to keep their mind focused?
I think the best thing is just through your training. Like your confidence will always come from your training, and something my dad always said to me. It's like if you train your, and Josh always said this as well. So both my dad and my first coach always said to me, like, if you've trained your absolute hardest, and you know that you couldn't have done any more, you'll always be fine when it, like, and you go out and you do your best. Like that's all anybody can do. Do you know what I mean? So you train your absolute hardest, you go out and do your best. That's all anybody can do, and the result's the result. But you've got to, again, if you've done that part, you've done everything that you can do. You know.
No, that is a great point. Just the last question before you get going, because I realise you're very busy. What fighters should we be looking out for coming from Submission Factory? Just to kind of give you a question as a coach.
I feel like I was trying to keep it maybe a secret, but we'll see soon. He's got a fight matched anyway. But Big Oscar, he's going to be phenomenal. Like he's not had a MMA fight for us yet, but he's going to be making his MMA debut soon. He's obviously been doing really, really well in grappling since he joined us. He joined us just over a year ago, and he's just been on an absolute tear. You know, and it's like I always see with guys that are like every fighter, every single fighter, like that's how you can usually judge when you see people making that kind of constant progression at a really fast rate. And it usually comes down to like how long can you keep that up for that progression as well. Like you noticed it with Conor McGregor in his first few fights at the UFC, like he was like leaps and bounds better each time, and John Jones was the same way as well. You see it with a lot of fighters that they make these leaps in between fights and stuff like that, and that's when you can tell how much has kind of been going and how much work's been going in the gym and how much else. But just the amount that boy puts in for the stages and how early he is in his career and his age and stuff like that, I can only imagine he's going to do really great things in the sport and whatever he chooses to put his mind to. And Sean Conway as well. Like hopefully we'll get Sean a few more amateur fights and he can start looking at fighting professional as well. He's got a family to provide for, and that lad again is one of my best mates as well. But he's born to fight, eh? And the way that he is, like it's what he loves it more than anything. He absolutely loves to fight, and when you've got that, like everything else will come. So I think the sooner we get him more amateur fights and get him fighting pro, the better. But that's a big part of it. You need to get that experience as an amateur because you didn't want to have to get it as a pro when it affects everything, you know. So, guys are doing really, really well, and we've got a bunch of other guys starting to come through. So, but pay attention for those two because they're going to do really well really soon.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I cut you off there. I was just going to say you're starting to see, like, for quite a young gym as well. You're starting to see that kind of progression in the guys coming through. Like it seems like there's just a wee conveyor belt, and it's just getting higher and higher. Like the volume of talent coming through.
Aye, we've got Anis as well. Anis is obviously he's always competing in something. I think he was doing the Hydrox, you know, some kind of athletic competition. He just loves competing and pushing himself and challenging himself. So he's been putting a lot of work in the gym. Over the last few months since his last fight, so he's going to come out and he's going to look like a completely different fighter. I think the next time that he fights, you know, he's got a lot of stuff that he can show off. His levels going up at a really fast rate, so it's going to be good to see him. And we've got a bunch of guys competing in jiu-jitsu now as well. You know, we've got a good squad of guys that are out competing and pushing each other to get better. So that's been great.
So just before we let you go, Craig, do you have any sponsors or anything like that you want to shout out just before we wrap up?
I am going to do a separate post with sponsors, but honestly, like the people that have helped me, it's been a massive support. Because there's a good few people that have supported me for this fight camp, and it's I really couldn't have done it without them, to be honest. So it's been a massive help just getting through, and obviously been travelling back and forth to higher level constantly, kind of kills the petrol and whatnot else, and a lot of people don't know, like you have to get medicals and all these different things for, just to get signed to fight, just to get yourself to the fight. So it's been absolutely brilliant. Yeah, a lot of companies that help us with the different fight gear and stuff like that as well. So Hard Life has been supporting us with that. But I'm going to do a post and get the banner made up and everything for these guys, because honestly, I couldn't have done it without them.
I seen you've got your own clothing range now as well, over at Fanboy.
That's right. I started working with these guys. So Ryan, that runs it, he's awesome with his designs, And he'd got in touch just not long ago, and we ended up sitting down having a chat, and he was wanting to help out. What he's doing is absolutely brilliant, man.
Yeah.
I was having a chat with him, and we're talking about like athletes coming through. Like it's a great opportunity for a lot of these sort of young athletes to be able to make a wee bit of money, and have their families and stuff like that. Support them by buying this sort of merchandise, and I think it will work really, really well for a lot of like the good jiu-jitsu athletes as well that are kind of representing, and it can branch out to everyone. It could branch out to Muay Thai. It could branch out to everyone, because like Muay Thai is another sport that the guys that are coming up in it don't get enough recognition and credit, and a lot of these guys didn't. A lot of people didn't realise that they're not actually making a lot. You know what I mean, for what they're doing at the level. So like all the support helps, and it's the same way everyone.
It's that way as well. Like the guy, like what you were saying there, the guy's so talented with his design. He's so like artistically talented. Like I was
Yeah,
looking at the Spider Mock t-shirts that you've got, and they look insane. Like if anyone's
aye.
wanting to give you and Ryan some support, you can get them over at is it fanboy.com?
I think it's .co.uk, but it's class, and they've got marks. We've got Mark on that, Mark Ewan's on that, and we've got Coonley's just recently got some really cool the Nigerian ninja stuff. Reese McEwen, he works with Reese McEwen as well. So Stevie Way as well. So there's a bunch of guys. He's working with all different types of athletes, and he's got some good ideas for branching out and stuff with it as well. So I've no doubt that platform will grow, because it's really, and I can tell, like we sat down at a conversation, I can tell that his only real care is just to support athletes. You know what I mean? He just genuinely wants to help and support athletes. So it's like having somebody like that. It's always good.
Absolutely, and it's something that we need more in the sport because you were touching on it earlier. Let's see, even for the guys going over to what IMAF, it's very expensive, and it's not everyone comes into the sport has the financial backing to be able to do that. So even the guys at amateur level being able to make money off selling product like that, and it looks top of the range quality. Like it's brilliant, it's brilliant design. So that can help the fighters just even progressing with their career. Like it's quite a simple idea, but the results could be absolutely fantastic. Like fighters been actually able to like travel, like go if guys can't get fights in Scotland, go somewhere else, like, have that kind of facility, that economic facility to be able to go and do that and go and compete in the likes of IMAF.
I'd spoke to him as well about like getting some jiu-jitsu athletes on the go that are competing at a good level as well, because people didn't realise the cost involved in that like, and a lot of guys, that's what put me off, is when I was competing, because I used to think, well, I'm getting paid to fight in MMA, or I'm not, or I'm going to have to pay to enter this tournament, and sometimes you're not getting that many matches, you know what I mean? But I think like for jiu-jitsu athletes as well, like these guys that are really competing at a good level, it can help fund their trips and opportunities, because a lot of people didn't realise that guys like that are trying to win the worlds or trying to win the major competitions, it's all self-funded, eh? So like you couldn't really do it without a job. You couldn't, be competing.
No, absolutely, and it's great to see what you guys are doing with jiu-jitsu in Scotland. Like you have the ADCC Scotland, like that. Even having something like that is so amazing for the sport in the country.
What we're hoping to do is just trying to like build a clear kind of avenue, so that we can get anything that kind of helps the athletes prepare for the ADCC trials. Just because if you watch the last one, like that's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger each year. They've just signed a deal with Fight Pass, so all your major ADCC events are going to be on UFC Fight Pass now as well. So it's blowing up massively. And the great thing I think about ADCC is it's not just BJJ. It's literally it's combining all the arts. So it's ideal for MMA. You know, it's like they get the best ADCC grapplers are usually going to transfer pretty well to MMA, but you can't really say the same thing for just straight up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions because a lot of it is focused on guard pulling and whatnot. But whereas ADCC, like you need to be able to wrestle. You know, you need to be able to wrestle, and you need to be able to. It's always action packed as well. There's no stalling. You know, you've got to be able to push.
Well, I think like the point you made there, that's massive, especially in growing the brand of jiu-jitsu is like how fan friendly it is on the eyes because not everyone's like an avid jiu-jitsu fan. Like not everyone could sit and watch a match that maybe lasts 30, 40 minutes and be totally engaged. Like you see that way the IBJJF one sometimes that they seem like they're going for absolute ever, and it's not always the most fan friendly style. So having something like the ADCC, which is action packed matches, helps the sport grow exponentially.
Aye, aye. So we've got our next Open tournament coming up on April 2nd. That's going to be at Stirling University, and then we'll be running invitationals after that. So, just going to keep it growing, keep giving these opportunities for people to compete. And the more competition in Scotland, the better, because it's just going to. And the good thing about the ADCC name is it usually brings people from further afield. So it's giving Scottish athletes a chance to compete against these other countries and people coming and visiting, because the good thing about the ADCC name is it does bring people in from elsewhere, you know.
No, absolutely, but we'll let you get going then, since you've got such a busy day. But thank you very much for your time. It's been hugely appreciated.
It's been good chatting to you, mate.
So thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch up with you next time.
No worries at all. Catch you soon, man. Take care.